All right, we're back. So on the break, I asked you to do a little challenge for yourself to go away and create a little Connect server. That's what we did. By the way, we are COMP308 in the winter 2017 semester, and it's week 2, part 3 of our broadcast for emerging technologies at Centennial College. So I asked you to go away and create a little Connect server, and it has 2 paths. I said there's going to be one that's kind of the root path, right? That kind of maybe responds with a hello or a welcome. And then another one be like a hello or a goodbye path that kind of responds with hello or goodbye, whatever else you want. It's just a little example of how to make a little server. So I'm going to talk about how to do that. Also, on the break, I was able to put up assignment 1 early, right? I'm going to go over the details of the full details of assignment 1 next week, right? You can read it early. I'm not going to talk about it today, right? Too much. It's going to challenge you. Right, and the reason why is because I always do a little portfolio site, and I've done it for, again, JavaScript. I've done it for, if you're with me on JavaScript before, I've done it on PHP, I've done it on ASP.NET, and I've done it here with Node. Why? Because it's not the content that matters here. I mean, it is, but it's not the content that matters. It's the fact that you've done it before, right? So it's not new to you. What I'm asking, the application I'm getting you to build is the same application on a different platform, which requires different technologies, right? That's why. It's not because I want to make it a boring, it's Tom's giving me the same assignment over and over again. Well, no, this is a little different. And this actually is a little bit more challenging. If you did the JavaScript, if you were with me on COMP308 and did JavaScript with me, or if you were on COMP308 and did ASP.NET with me, this is different. This is more involved than those two, right? It's worth 15% of your final grade, so a little bit different, so it's worth a bit, but you got 3 weeks to finish it, okay? It's not like you're going to do it in no time. This is an individual assignment. I'm going to go over next week. You can start it early. That's why I gave it to you now, right? It's not, you're not sharing it with somebody else, right? One thing I want you to keep in mind is it uses everything we're going to need from Express, and what I've asked you to do is use the Express generator, which we haven't talked about yet. Okay, we will. I'm talking about it next week. Everything I'm going to talk about for the assignment, all the details you need for the assignment to get started are next week. So can I test you on what you've done next week for your assignment? Yes, I can go around and ask you if you started. But the real test is going to be next week is week 3, week 4, right? If you haven't started your assignment by week 4, you're going to lose bonus marks, right? I'm telling you in advance, lab 2 is going to be assignment 1 checkpoint. That's what it's going to be, right? So please don't be discouraged or surprised if I on week 4, right? Not next week, but the week after, I come to you and go, show me what you got. And if you got nothing, right, by the end of the day, then you're going to lose 2%. Now, if you're not physically here and you're watching this remotely, then you need to get it in. The things I've asked for, and I'm going to ask you for a few things by the end of the day in week 4. Okay, so you don't have to physically be here to get it done, but you need to have started your assignment. Right. If you haven't started your assignment, I'm pushing you to do, I'm paying you to do it, right? If you think about it with bonus marks, because if you haven't started, this assignment can be quite involved. It's not a low assignment. It's worth 15% of your final grade. I'm combining like a little bit of assignment 1 and 2 from Ilya's outline. So it's a little bit heavier, but it's meatier and it gives you a little bit more to work with and figure out on your own. You can always talk to your peers when it comes to assignments. Say, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? But your code must be your own. And I'll talk about all the details next week. The other thing I put up during the break is lab 1, which is a little bonus lab, right? So lab 1, if you look at lab 1, let me go to the details. What have I asked you to do on lab 1? It's worth 2% of your final grade as a bonus. This doesn't take away from anything, all right? This just adds, okay? So what am I getting you to build? Instead of a Connect server, I want you to build an Express site, okay? Now, you've not done Express, but it's very similar. You're going to see how similar it is, right? So how do you figure this out? You're going to go to express.js, right? Express.js, I think it's .com, right? So here's expressjs.com. You're going to look at the guide for getting started, right? Here's your getting started guide. It's going to tell you how to do everything, right? I want you to follow the guide. This is why it's a bonus. If you can't do this, you don't have time, or it's too difficult for you, don't worry. You have until Saturday night next week to get it done, which means you and I are going to work on it together, right? Anyway, right? But if you want to get a head start on it, it gives you a head start on how to do this stuff, right? So that's Express. That's due next week. if you look at the details here, build your site should include 3 routes, right? Or routes. The root route, if you will, the main route when you go to the main site, the about route, the contact route, right? So you have a couple of things you have to put there. And I've asked to say each route should return a full HTML page. Did I specify what they should be? No. Put whatever in there. Make it so that the route says welcome, the main route. Hey, welcome to my site, right? And then it should be a full HTML page. You can use Bootstrap if you want to make it pretty, right? Nope. And I haven't asked for the generator here, right? Here, the about route should be about you or about the page. This is an example page, a demo page for my demo about app, right? Remember, it's only 2%. I'm not going to make you do crazy pages, right? And then the contact route is some kind of contact information about contacting you. Contact me at on Moon Station 1, right? You can get me there by hyperchannel, right? Whatever. Make something up that's funny. Make it a funny little thing, okay? It doesn't have to be serious. Each route should return a full HTML page, though, okay? It's not like you're not sending things back. You're returning a page, and that requires a little bit different coding than what we've done today, right? You can use Bootstrap to make it pretty, and the pages may use placeholder images. So some don't. I mean, if you want to put cat images on there, you're welcome to do that. Your favorite Dungeons and Dragons kind of game, or if you want to put Fallout in there, because you're a Fallout guy, put that. I don't care. And then some kind of text underneath it, right? Be creative because it can be fun, right? And then your submission details. I need a link to your GitHub repo, so please use GitHub for next week. If you don't know how to do that, it'll train you how to do it for the assignment. That's why it's for, right? And a little zip archive of your project files. Your site does not have to be live at this point, okay? It's just an example that we're going to share in class. I'm going to show you how to go live next week with everything else. I'm going to talk about Microsoft Azure, Heroku, how to do all those things online with Node. So don't fret about it. It's next week. This is doing next week. It's the lab that we're doing. I'm telling you in advance so you can get it done. Now, if you're working remotely, this is good because that means you can get it done beforehand, right? If you can't get it done, you don't know what I'm talking about, wait for class and we'll do it together. Okay, so it's not going to be something that you're going to suffer. That's due next week. Okay, let's get on to this part though. So that's due next week, but we really want to build this Connect application. So what would I do to start? Okay, first of all, without looking at anything, I'm just going to close all this stuff off, and this one too. Ooh, what a crazy picture. I want to make a site, right? Well, I have this lesson from last week, COMP308, W2017, lesson 1B, and I also have probably somewhere in here lesson 1. Probably in this crazy place here. I'm going to make a COMP308 folder. I think I might have I don't have a COMP308 folder on here. I'm just pull up my desktop and see if I do. Hopefully I don't. There we go. So I'm going to make a COMP308 folder on my desktop. You can do that with Windows or Mac, not a problem. So I'm going to make a new folder. It's the same, by the way, COMP308. I'm going to put my last week's stuff inside there. So I'm just going to go, oh, okay, I want to put that in there. There we go. And inside my COMP308 folder, I want to make a new lesson, right? So I'm going to go new folder, COMP308, W2017, right? Lesson 2A, because you guys are the A class, right? I'm calling it lesson 2. You guys would call it whatever you like, right? Now it's empty, right? There's nothing inside of there. So I'm starting from scratch. If you're a Windows or Mac user, it should be very similar. Please look at the installation videos from last week if you have a problem with installing Node and GitHub and all that stuff. I'm not going to go through that again. That was like installation hell. All right. So please, if you have a problem with installation, please see the videos from last week. If you still have a problem after that, talk to me, see me, make some efforts to get together with me, so I'll help you out. Okay. Or talk to a peer, somebody like one of your friends to help you set up, because I've gone into detail about how to do this. Okay. So here's Visual Studio Code, right? Normally Visual Studio Code starts empty. I'm just going to drag and drop this into there to start off my VS Code app, right? Now, do I need folders for this thing? No, I don't need that. I do need some kind of server.js file. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to kind of create a new file. We'll just call it server.js or app.js, whatever you want, right? Either one is fine. All right, so I need this server.js file, number 1. I'm also going to include a package, a new package from NPM. That's the Connect package, right? So the best thing for me to do is set up my package.json file. You can set it up manually if you really want, but why, right? Because it'll do it for you. If you go into open in terminal or command prompt in Visual Studio Code, right? Here it is. Now I'm in my terminal. What I want to do is something npm init. Npm init was the first command I want to do. Now, let me just actually cancel out of that for a second. If you had files in here, okay, if I had actually other files in here, like whatever, I might want to do a git first. And I'll tell you why. Because if I do git first, npm will pick it up, my name, right? So let's just put in a placeholder text for server.js and say, as an example, so our server, our connect server, right? So this is a cheat, right? Because it's something, right? Save. And now I want to set up Git. Probably the first thing I should do. So here's, how do I set up Git? Here's a review from last week. What's the first thing from my command line to do on Git? I want to set up Git, a Git repository. Git init, right? So you should get, I made you sick with Git by now. If you've had me in a class before, you should know this, and you should be sick of it, right? Git init. What's the next command? Git add dot, right? Dot means add everything, right? Oops. What's the third command? Git commit, right? Git commit -m. Now there's a problem here. There's a problem here. All right. Before I do git commit, what do I really want? Do I want my node modules? I'm going to put node modules together in Git. Do I want my node modules to go up on Git? That's crazy, right? It's not. I don't want my node modules. It's too much. So what I want to do here is set up another little file before I'm finished, right? Called gitignore, .gitignore. Don't worry if you didn't get this part. I wasn't expecting this. If you got gitignore, then you're ahead, right? I want to, anything I put in my gitignore file that I list in my gitignore file is ignored by Git. It won't be loaded in. For example, the node modules folder. I don't want that to be up on GitHub, right? And maybe if you're a Mac user, anything that says ds_store, that's something that happens with Mac. Or if you use Cloud9, anything that's C9, right? And you can put other things in here, like, for example, if I'm going to use, and on the front end, I don't have this, but if I'm going to do anything to do with Bower, maybe Bower components, right, would be out of here. Or maybe scripts build, right? Any kind of scripts lib. If I had that, I mean, I can put whatever I want in my gitignore folder. By the way, you don't need all this stuff. All you need is this, right? I'm just saying you can do all this if you want or none, right? So I don't need any of this. I'm gonna get rid of this. All I need is node modules. And now when I go back to this, right, I'm gonna say git, commit -m for message, and then initial commit. Wait, am I really, should I really do this now, or should I add everything else? Should I add my gitignore file? I can do that, right? I can do individual files too. I can say git add .gitignore, like this. Hold on, I did it once, but it wasn't there before. I added it after, right? So now it's added into the staging area, right? Now, if I go git commit -m initial commit, it'll include my gitignore file, which I want. Okay, right? So I got a couple files. Now, am I connected to GitHub? Do I have a GitHub repo yet? No, right? So let's make that. So I'm gonna go up to GitHub. Right? If you guys forgot GitHub, it's okay. I know you're not thinking about it, but you should. With Node, you should always think about GitHub right away. Here's my Centennial College thing. I got W3, lesson 1B, right? I want to make lesson 2A. So I'm going to go in here and go COMP308, right? And then it's lesson winter 2017, lesson 2A. Now I've got that. Now that I created that, I have on the bottom the commands that I need to create my remote and push to my master branch. Okay, so I'm going to copy these two last lines. Again, this is all from last week. And then paste inside here. And again, same on Windows, and press enter. When it does it, if you've set things up properly, it's going to push to the remote, which is this. So if you want to follow along after I'm done, you can check what I got compared to what you got. Okay, cool. So I've got this. Now I can do an npm init. And I'll show you why. If I do an npm init now, right, this is set up my package.json file. This is what this does, all right? It's going to say, hey, what's the name of your file? I cannot use uppercase characters for the name of my package. So it's got to be COMP308. I got to retype it. W2017, and then lesson 2A, and then press enter. Version 1's fine. Description, right? So it's going to be a connect server demo. That's what we're doing. Look, entry point, server.js, it found it. That's good. Test command, I don't care. Git repository. This is what I wanted to pick up. I wanted to pick up this Git repository so I don't have to do this again, right? Pick that up. Keywords, connect. Node.js, right? JavaScript, I don't know, whatever kind of keywords you want. So from a searching perspective. Author, me. Or you, in this case. License, okay, you can also use MIT. I've got all this stuff that's going to make, right? This is what it's going to make for me. Press yes for enter. And now if I go back to Visual Studio, I have this extra file called package.json that was created for me with that whole process, okay? I don't have to go and do it by myself. I can do this by myself too if I really want to. And I can add other things, and we will, especially when we move this stuff to Heroku. I need to add a couple things. The NPM version that I'm using and the Node version that I specify, those two things, or else Heroku will never work, right? And the proc file I'm going to use too. Those things are really important. If I don't have those things, Heroku may not work, right? So we're going to talk about those other requirements, okay, for Heroku. Not today. All right, so I've got my keywords and blah, 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 whatever. I've got my stuff. Well, I've got another commit here I could do. And I want to show you how you can use it for people who haven't used Visual Studio Code before very well. Notice that Visual Studio Code also has a Git integration. So if I click on there, notice that I have a package.json file. I could, over the changes, where it says changes, there's a little plus. If I click on the plus, it'll stage all, which is like doing git add dot. That's exactly what it does. So now I could go in there and add a commit message. So I can say added package.json, right? That's what I did. If I click this little check mark, it actually does git commit -m added package.json. That's what that check mark does. And it adds whatever the files that were staged here into the commit, all right? And then, because I've set it up, I can do push, and it's right through here. I don't have to go and go to command line again. So this is good Git integration right into my Visual Studio Code. That's why I use Visual Studio Code for this, because it's easy. And from now on, it's kind of an easy step to go in here, and I don't have to go even to command prompt or command line. If I want to check it out, if I go clear, and if I go git log, I should see two commits now, right? There's my added package.json commit and my initial commit. And I have pushed everything to the master branch. So if I look at my GitHub, this is only one, but if I refresh, I should have two. Notice that my package.json now is up online, and it's assigned to a different commit message. There's my two commits, right? So that's how you work with Git. And remember, I talked about on the assignments, in order for you to get full marks on version control, which every assignment has, you need to use Git properly as you add features to commit everything to GitHub. Okay. Let's continue. So I've got my little site. It doesn't do anything yet. And I want to now add functionality, right? My server.js doesn't do anything. I can't add anything in here yet. The first thing to do before you do one piece of code is add all the modules you need, right? What modules do I need? I don't need any built-in modules. I just need connect, right? So if I go online, like I showed you to do, and I went to the connect module, it tells you how to set it up. There should be a place that installs npm install connect. Now what I want to do is I want to save this as a dependency to my project. And how do I do that? What's the switch that I use with npm to add it into my package.json file? I did this last week. What do I use? There's a little switch. Switch means some kind of dash dash. Dash dash save, right? Dash dash save. If I add dash dash save in here, it'll install connect and save it in my package.json file as a dependency, a project dependency, right? Let me show you that. So I go here, npm install connect, right? And it's mine to save. Now it'll go out, grab everything, right? Here's the the connect module, and look, take a look at this. The connect module, which is at version 3.5, has a bunch of submodules that also get downloaded for you. Okay, so that's why you don't want to include node_modules up on GitHub, because this can be thousands and thousands of files eventually, right? You don't want that. So take a look. Does my GitHub have something? Yes, it does, right? It has one file that somehow got added. What is that file? Package.json. Why? It got modified. Automatically, when I use the -- save, you can see that package.json now has on the bottom my dependencies, which is connect at version 3.5 or higher. That's what the little caret means. Higher than 3.5, 3.5 or higher, right? So it tells me, so when you download my code, it's not going to work. You have to do an npm install. npm install would download any dependencies automatically, right, to run my little package, right? Otherwise, it won't run because I'm not putting the packages up online. And if you downloaded it without the packages, they wouldn't work, right? And that's why you have to, we'll talk about how to do that later. Okay, so that's the first part. Second, now I can put all my code in place. And it's a copy-paste exercise for the most part. Let's go in there. So I'm going to go back to the site. Here's my site. I'm looking at Connect. It gives me some examples of what I need. I definitely need these two, right? Take a look at this. I definitely need these. So I'm going to kind of get this. And I probably need this one. So those 3 lines, probably going to need them, right? So let's grab those 3 lines. Also on my PowerPoint presentation, it tells you to kind of do this too. So if I take these 3 lines, I'm going to change these to lets because I don't like vars. That's bad, right? Go back here. Paste it in. Change these to lets or consts, right? Now, my app, if I hover over it, notice that it has the ability to give me code hinting right in Visual Studio Code about what this is. So my app represents my Connect server. That's what it does, right? And my HTTP is of type of HTTP. My Connect is the Connect module. It tells you it's a Connect module, right? So those are the 3 things that I've got in there. Now, I don't know if I really need HTTP. If I look at my PowerPoint presentation here, and if I skip down to the example here, all I've done is require Connect, and I create a const app. And notice they're using const in the book, which is totally fine. Do I need to use my logger? Is it required? No, it's extra. I don't need to do this. How about this? Hello world function, da, da, da. Do I need this? Not really. I don't need it here. I could put it as a callback right inside here if I wanted to, right? Which is how I'm going to write it. How about this? App listen. Do I need that? Yes. App listen would be the first thing that I need. So all I need here to make this work is app.listen. And I need a port. Now look what it has here. Port, there's a host name, and there's a question mark next to the host name. What does that mean? It's optional. Anything that has a question mark next to it from a callback perspective here in the code is an optional parameter. That means if you don't put it in, if you leave it out, it's still going to work. A port number is required, so I need 3000. Right then, my host name, if I want to put it in, I could put in 127.0.0.1 or some other thing if I want to. And I could even have a callback function after this too. For now, this is enough because the default for my host name is localhost. Okay, so I could do this. By the way, could I also have this all in one step? Could I go let app equals to connect.3000? Can I do that? Or listen? I could, but it's weird, right? Because that means that now it's going to, if I hover over this thing, this actually creates a server for me. That's what this thing does. Look at it. It does the create server thing. So I don't need this piece. This is nice, but I don't need it. I only need this. Those 3 lines. So 3 lines of code so far. Okay. Let's do this. Let's console log, right? And let's do this. On the console, I'm going to say a message that's going to say, okay, server listening at port, right? And what's that, command? I could do plus, port 3000, right? So, 3000 if I want to, if I had some kind of port. And in order for me to set that up, I'd probably want to set it up somewhere up here, right? Like as a const. I can say const port is equal to 3000. That's kind of a good practice, right? Because that port's not going to change. And then I can kind of put port in there, right? That's something I could do too. And then I can do something like listening at port plus, I could do it this way, plus port. What's the other way to do it with the new, does anyone know the new ECMAScript 6 specification for interpolation? There is a new specification I could use. The new ECMAScript 6 specification is I could use backtick. which is next to the tilde character on your keyboard, right? So it's backtick. I can do a backtick like this. That's the new specification. If you didn't get this, don't worry. Who cares, right? And I could put in something like this in brackets. Here's my message. And a backslash, I believe, right? I don't know if it's a backslash or forward slash. I got to remember now. Here's the backslash. No, I don't. Right? That is the new backtick. Backtick is not what's called this character. See, that's different. That's a single quote. It's not a single quote. It belongs, if you look at your keyboard, where the tilde character is right underneath the escape, that's the backtick, right? So backtick server listening at port, and I believe it's backslash. If it's not, it's this. One of the two, right? And by the way, it'll give you an error. If there's a problem here, it'll give you an error. Let's run this thing. How do I run my application? There's two ways to do this, right? First of all, let's go back to my thing here, my here, and then I can do something like node. This is the first way, node, and then server.js. If there's a problem, it's going to come up. Oh, it's a problem, but it worked, right? So I could do, I think it's this way. Try this again. So I'm going to do that again. Oh, I got a problem. Unhandled error, right? So how do I do that? How do I use, can I use the ECMAScript 6 interpolation? And if you want to figure that out really quickly, ES6 string interpolation. And then I use template literals with JavaScript. And you can see that they use the backtick character. Oh, look what I missed, right? It's $, right? So I was wrong. I was remembering Swift instead of Node. My mind is full, right? My mind is full. So what I mean is $, right? And then curly brace. That's the format, right? It's good learnings. Then if I try it again, look what it gave me. Right on the command line, it threw an error. Right? And if there's a problem, it's going to throw a command line in the error, right? So let's try this out. All right, so that. Oh man, what happened now? Right? It says unhandled exception error, right? Event. It said it did this. The 3,000 is in use. Why? Is it?
I have no idea. I'm showing you that we're using the same ports being used.
Ports in use, right? If I do this, I keep reducing it. How about I look at process, right? I can look at the process and I can see that I'm running a node server, right? On process 3047.1, right? I haven't killed my port yet. Just putting it out there, right? So you can see that it's already running, right? So how do I kill that? Can I do a kill? If you remember how it was done, kill, and then the process ID, which is 30471. Can I do that? Is that possible? Now if I do a PS, is that still running? Yep. How do I kill a process? What was that?
Kill all.
Kill, no.
Kill all node.
Kill, remember this is all from Unix, right? Kill, process, and Mac. Don't do it. No, don't listen to those people, right? If you can't remember how to do it, force quit. I don't want to do that. Kill on process and on terminal, the Mac terminal, right? Oh, I meant this. Right? And the process ID, -9, right? Remember that minus? -9. What's the -9 stand for? Anyone remember? Oh, well, first of all, you need the process ID. Hold on a second. What's the process ID? Process ID is 30471. Kill, no. No, don't do it. Killed. Now, can I do it again? Can I go node? Sorry, it's my fault, right? Because I didn't stop it properly. If I go node, right? Start node server.js, and I run it now, it's running on port 3000, right? Okay, let's test it. If it's running on port 3000, if I go localhost, it does me this. Cannot get. Why does it do cannot get? This is good though. This is a good response. This means that it's running, but I'm not doing anything with the route. The route, which is that /, right? That's the root of my web server, right? I'm not responding to that. I need to have a route to respond to this thing, and I'm going to set that up in my server, right? Okay, let's kill my server, and let's make sure that when you kill it, Control-C, right, kills the server. Let's check it. Did it kill it? Yes. If I went Control-Z though, would it kill it? No, that's what happened. I pressed the wrong button. All right, so now that it's killed, I can go back to this. Remember, whenever time I change my server, I got to rerun it. What's the other module that I gave you guys last week to run it so that it automatically updates? NodeMon. Light server only runs with HTML, right? NodeMon is what I want you to use next time. And I'll give you an example of that. If I ran NodeMon, right, you have to download this module globally. So it runs on every console command, right? Now it runs at server 3000, but if I change something, like if I go in here and say something like app get, right? So I'm listening on port 3000. Yeah, it's listening. And now I want to do some kind of app get. Can I do it here? App.get. Is that possible? Well, how come it says get max listeners? Is that right? Did I do something wrong? How come it's not giving me code hinting? Let's go look online, right? For the answer, right? Here's connect. So I've done compression. Do I care about compression? No. Is it app use or app get? App use, right? And app use, I don't want to use any one of these. I want to use this functionality here. Woo, right? This functionality. How do I do that? All right, so app use, so I'm going to take this thing right here, copy it, go back, right? Don't use app get. If I go app use, you can see that it gives me the method, which uses the create server. If I open it up, it tells me what's required, right? These are all the required things. It gives you code hinting right in Visual Studio Code with no additional modules. That's why I like using Visual Studio Code. But for now, I'm just going to copy it in. It won't be foo, right? It'll be my main server there, right? Here's my main server. And I notice that I have also the next. So there's three things that it takes from a function perspective. And it says foo middleware, by the way. Who cares about this, right? I want to make it so that it is an anonymous function. And I want to use a fat arrow to do that. The fat arrow function way was this. Yeah? That's the way to do it. I don't need to use that function keyword. It's nice and sleek this way, right? And this is an anonymous function that's going to have all my routing information right here, right? Now, if I go back to my PowerPoint, right? Because the PowerPoint stuff has it in there. Look how it says, hello world. What's my hello world going to do? It's going to set the header, content type text plain, right? And respond with hello world. Let's do that. So res header. So I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code, right? And I'll say my res, which is my response dot header, right? And if you can't remember now, for my response, I don't get code hinting because it doesn't know what type that is, right? So it can't give me code hinting for this. So I need to look at it here. So set header, set is lowercase, header is uppercase. The content type is what I want to hit, and text plain, right? So again, set header, right? And then content type. Then the string value, notice what the next one is text plain, text/plain, right? That's the header. And then my res, is it send or end? End, right? And if my res end, I'm going to end off with a message that says, welcome. That's what I asked you guys to do, right? Notice that I saved, and now my server restarted because I'm using NodeMon. Remember I talked about NodeMon last week, right? I know I'm running overtime. Bear with me, right? Okay, let's take a look at here. Is it good? Am I good? Res end, hello world, content dash type. Did I spell content type correctly? No. Does it care? Yes. It needs to be like this. Content type, text plain. Text/plain has to be written exactly this way. Okay, I'm going to make another route because I know this is going to work, right? So I'm confident. And this is going to be hello, right? This is my next route. So this is my main route, right? For the root of my website, and this route over here is the hello route, right? That's what it does. We don't have a web page yet, so this is going to say hello world. If this works properly, and I want to talk about this a second, okay? So I want to talk about the order of these, why it matters, and all this kind of stuff, okay? Let's try this out. It's restarted my server a couple times now, right? And I should go over to localhost, and if I kind of refresh, I get welcome, right? What about if I put in /hello? Is that going to give me welcome or hello? How come it didn't work? It didn't work, right? /hello, give me welcome again. How come? Look at my code, right? Gave me this, right? And then it didn't give me, I didn't get there somehow. How come? It's exactly the same. Mine's hello world, and the other one is this, right?
Location. You gotta put the background.
What about if I did this? And I want you to think about this when you build your Express site next week, right? So here's a hello, and then it tries to check hello. It doesn't, it's not there, then it goes there, right? But this will always exist, right? So let's go and try this out. So I've now restarted my server again. Notice that it kind of killed it and then restarted. So make some changes in between, right? And if I go back to this and refresh, so I go back to hello. So this is server 3000, refresh. And if I go hello now, it gives me hello world. So order matters when it comes to when we talk about these kinds of pathing. This is not going to help or hurt us later on, but it's important to understand why it matters. And if you look at mounting, it talks about mounting here in your PowerPoint presentation, right? Notice that they did the kind of same thing here. They did hello and goodbye, right? But they never did a default route. Notice that they didn't do the backslash or the / route. Only hello and goodbye work here in this example. If I was to put the default route, which is that /, and I did it before the hello and goodbye, I would never be able to get to hello and goodbye, because that's not how it works. It's the reverse way. You put all your paths first, and then your route. And this particular example, it doesn't work like that on Express. Exactly. Okay, now I'm almost good. What am I missing? I need to do another update. So I'm going to say something like added or created demo connect server. That's what I did, right? Really, really simple. I'm gonna kind of add the message in, and I'm gonna push it to GitHub. Okay, so that's pushed to GitHub. So now, if you couldn't get that, it's up on GitHub. Check it out, up on my GitHub link, right? Okay, for next week. First of all, does anyone not understand what I did? So I can go through this. So again, all I did was I required the module. This is our third-party module that I added in, right? I created the object. So this is, required, or what I did was I imported, third-party module connect. That's what this is, right? Here, I created the connect server object. That's what I did here when I did this line, right? Signed a port, put constant. What I did. Set up the event loop, right? And which listens on port 3000, right? On the port, whatever the port is, right? And then I pumped out a console command. That's pretty simple. And now here, I created two routes, right? Created two routes on the server. Actually, I can't say created. I should say mounted. That's the right word. Mounted two routes on the server. Okay? That's what I did here. Okay? So, pretty straightforward stuff. For next week, if you want to get a jump start on the project and everything else, right? I want you to take a look at, again, Express and what to do. It tells you how to install Express, right? Here's how to install Express, right? Notice it gives you that Express -- save in order for you to add it to the dependency list and all that kind of stuff. Create your app, right? It also gets you a little guide on how to do routing, which is slightly different, but very similar. App get instead of app use, right? Look how similar it is to Connect. Why? Because Express is based on Connect. Someone came out with Connect, and then someone else said, hey, I love that module, but I want to add functionality to it. Let's make Express. So Express is very Connect-like. So if you learn Connect, you kind of know Express a little bit, right? So that's what these do. So they show you routing methods, right? And how to route paths, right? And how to send random text, as well as if I want to send a path to a page, right? Be careful about how this works, right? So you have to look through this. For the bonus, I want you to read the guide, go through this, right? Take a look at some basic routing, writing your middleware, right? Here's your middleware. Talks about how this all works, the whole thing. And when we get to it next week, I will explain everything step by step if you can't do this properly. All right? This is not rocket science. It's almost identical to what you did today with just adding 3 pages instead of some basic text. Okay? Questions? Guys, thank you so much. See you next week. Please do your lab.